Well, hello, listeners. This is Richard Carlton London, and you're listening to ClearTales. We're about halfway through our short story, Red and Yellow, on Vincent van Gogh's final years, and I thought this would be a good time for us to recap the story so far. Vincent van Gogh arrived in Paris in 1887, and he died in 1890 in a town north of Paris. And in these 3 years, he painted and sketched something like 800 works. And he was only a painter for 9 years of his life, and he died at the age of 37. Just a couple of reminders. One is that Van Gogh had an older brother who died at birth 1 year before the painter Vincent van Gogh was born. As was Dutch tradition at the time, the next born son would take on the name of the one that died earlier. And so he was also named Vincent van Gogh. So in this story, I have Vincent van Gogh, the first one, coming back and carrying on conversations with the painter Vincent van Gogh. And one other reminder on the story is that these stories, this one in particular, are for adults, for adult listeners, and specifically for adult listeners that are experiencing some form of mild to moderate dementia. And that these stories do have some mild violence in it and sexual situations. They are for adults, so they're not for children. If you wanted to rate it like a movie, I would say that this is really a PG story, not an R-rated story, but a PG story. That gives you some idea of, the content. It's not very violent. It's not overtly sexual. So I think you're okay. So that's about it. Those are the reminders. That's the catch-up for you. Ketchup. I love ketchup. Well, I hope you're enjoying this, and I hope you send this to other people to listen to. It's free, and the only way we really get listeners is through the help of you. If you're enjoying this story, please pass it on. Now let's get back to Red and Yellow, Vincent van Gogh's final years.
Chapter 7. The Salon of the South. Unintentional as it was, the frequent visits of Joe and Theo's life only made 54 Rue Lepic smaller for the two brothers. Theo remembered what it was before Vincent arrived. An orderly sanctuary in the city of light, a quiet perch above the city where he could breathe. Now it often felt like the insides of Vincent's skull, half brilliance, half disaster. The air was so thick with turpentine that Theo sometimes woke in the morning dizzy from the fumes. Sitting opposite Vincent at the breakfast table, he glanced around the room. A tall stack of unwashed dishes, sketches pinned to walls, sketches pinned to doors, half-painted canvas scattered everywhere. "Imagine it, Vincent," I said at last, placing his hand flat on the table, as if to steady them both. "A Salon of the South." Vincent drummed his fingers, staring without expression. "Your work astonishes," Theo pressed on. "The Impressionists say so, I say so, Joe says so. Even my colleagues at Goupil and Siey confide there is a future for your work. But Paris? Paris is shackled to the Salon." He threw his hands up. "The classics of the past that finance the Académie des Beaux-Arts smother everything. The city is drunk on its past, yet keeps coming back for the same wine. That's why we must start a new salon. The Salon of the South. A fresh start in fresh air." Vincent stretched his legs, interlaced his fingers, cracked the knuckles, and yawned. "A fresh start, you say?" "Yes," Ian said in his head. "That's what he said. Do you think he can go on like this? Do you think he can? Wake up, man. Your brother is kicking you out, and it's not a bad idea." Vincent looked about the room for several moments, pushing his teacup around the tabletop with one finger. It's an interesting thought, Theo, he said at last. Paris has its charms, the dance halls, cafes, and women. But the sky, there is only one season here, the gray season. I feel that when the sun comes out, I have to run like hell to get some color and brightness on my canvas before it goes back to gray. That's true, Theo admitted. And the art here and its patrons all frozen in time, like those plaster busts at the Académie Julian. Stuffy, that's the word. That's true, Theo echoed. Stuffy. Go on, Vincent said, leaning back, unraveling his fingers. Tell me more. I see it as a partnership, Theo explained. You build a studio, your own vision, invite others to join. A place for art to grow. I like the sound of that, Ian murmured. I heard wonderful things about the women of Arles. They say the Arlesiennes are dark-haired, exotic descendants of Rome. Arles might be a good location, Vincent stated, as if the idea had been his all along. Theo brightened. Yes, Arles. Lovely. We set up a studio there, handpick artists for our new salon. Post-Impressionism in the countryside, the true France. I'll provide a monthly allowance for your living expenses and art supplies. You give me one finished painting per month to sell in the Goupil Gallery. A vibrant collection, something fresh enough to stir the critics. Art Nouveau. He's really onto something, Ian said. Our brother's an entrepreneur. Ask him what's next. Go on, ask him. Wait a second, Ian. This could be a place for me to fail without an audience, Vincent muttered, rising to pace the cramped room, tugging at his beard. What if Arles is just another Paris? Another start? Another failure? Goupil doesn't care now. Why would they care later? Ian's voice slid in, smooth and sardonic. Freedom, brother. No critics breathing down your neck. Just you, the sun, the canvas. Vincent braced against the windowsill, staring at the pale sky. His mind became untethered, darting ahead of himself. Wheat fields blazing gold, small cottages with wooden shingles and ivy. Their shutters painted green against whitewashed walls. Sunflowers. The South sings with color, Ian said, coaxing him further. You'd paint life itself, not these gray ghosts. What if I'm not enough? Vincent whispered, half to himself, half to Ian. His mind shifted the way it always did. One moment trapped in self-doubt, the next tumbling headlong into possibilities. He imagined the Arles cafes, women in loose silk, faces soft in lamplight, handsome creatures with curves sculpted by his imagination into forms the real world could never quite manage, lounging under crimson drapes, teasing him with the promise of beauty if only he dared to claim it. Vincent returned to the table, dragged a scrap of paper close, and set charcoal to it. Lines leapt forth. Women again, but not Parisians. He conjured Arlesienne. Hair unbound, eyes alight, earthy and mythic. The South unfurled in his mind. Olive trees with outstretched arms. Striped awnings shading the barn stalls. Apricots piled on plates like tiny suns. And the Rhone River wound through it all, its banks lined with willows dipping their fingers into the current. Bridges arched across it, barges drifting lazily past. The colors, Vincent, Ian whispered with passion. Ochre, vermilion, cobalt blue, and the yellow crown of Jesus. The sky. Dear God, the sky alone will save you. Vincent set the charcoal down. The women on the page stared back at him, their eyes alive, as if they already knew where he was headed. Behind their faces, the road south stretched like a ribbon. He could almost smell it. It could be paradise, Theo said softly, watching his brother slip away into a vision. Or purgatory, Ian countered. Vincent smiled faintly, his eyes still on the page. Maybe both. Theo studied him for a long moment. He saw the familiar flicker, the glint of creation that was always equal parts gift and torment. He reached for his tea, then set it down untouched. "When should we start packing?" Theo asked.